we want to thank you for today's session. It was wonderful, concerning brain development, mindful integration of brain, body and heart for engaged learning. Could you just share with us why is this so important? Why is this so relevant for our educators today?
Well, you know, it's a very relevant question, and I think it's a real interesting question. And one way I can answer that is by telling you when I started my teaching career way many years ago, I didn't know anything about the brain. And that's a deep irony to think that the organ that we're supposedly reaching in children, their brain, I knew nothing about. And we know a tremendous amount about the human brain these days, largely due to the incredible technological innovations with brain imaging. We can really look deeply into the learning process by looking at the processes that are happening within the brain. But in addition to that, it's really, really important to understand the developmental sequences or sequela that the brain goes through from birth through adolescence. There are really, really amazing, if not to say profound changes that the brain goes through and reorganizes itself and reorganizes itself. The brain of a child is not the brain of a teen. The brain of a teen is not the brain of an adult. Teachers need to understand brain function. They need to understand brain development in order to more effectively teach, no matter what the content area is. One of the problems we're finding in education is whereas elementary teachers often know about childhood development, secondary teachers don't know that much about it. So there's a double handicap going on there. They don't know much about teen development in particular, and they don't know much about brain development. What neuroscience promises is to better inform education as to really what works because of the changes that happen in the brain. But it doesn't even end there, because we're understanding to a greater extent the role that the heart plays in human development and the functioning of the brain. And moreover, we know that there is in effect a third brain. We have a cranial brain, we have a heart brain, but we have a third brain, and that's located actually in the gut. It's the enteric nervous system. There's a marvelous book written by a doctor, a gastroenterologist, called The Second Brain. Now these three brains, all of which have gray matter, or brain matter, and function interdependently as well as independently, all of these brains working together in a coherent way, or what they call in science in a trained way, leads to a condition of enhanced optimal learning, and what we would call in education optimal learning or optimal learning. In performance, that's called peak performance. In sports, it's called the zone, and they're all the same thing. It describes a condition where the body and the brain and the heart and the emotions and the mind are all in a coherent state. And it's a beautiful, wonderful state, and we all visit it at least once in a while. But science holds out the promise that if we really understand that and develop a set of coherent practices, we can enter that state a great deal more to access creative intelligence, problem solving, and everything that we need to face the challenges that we're coming up with. So in my particular work, what I try to do is create this mindful integration of brain, body, and heart, and that leads to more engaged learning. And then we get better outcomes, not just academically, which we of course need, but in all areas of a young person's life. So that's it.
That's wonderful.